Thursday Night Football in Week 14 is an absolute cracker. Expect points on the Turf and Touchdowns podcast. Luke Elder alongside Tom Collins, as always. Possibly the best Thursday Night Football matchup of the entire season. And, unfortunately for us, Tom, your Green Bay Packers are playing.
Yeah, it's going to potentially be the game of the year, or at least in the regular season. Obviously, we're not talking about the playoffs or the Super Bowl here. These are two fantastic teams. Detroit Lions have been the best team in the league this year. I don't think anyone can argue that. Offensively especially, but their defense has held up recently. Then you've got the Green Bay Packers, another team with an incredible record coming into this week. They've been good on both sides of the ball. This could be a very tight-knit tactical game, but I don't think so. I think we're going to see a lot of points. I think it's going to be a great watch for the neutral. Unfortunately, I'm going to be a little bit biased, obviously, during the game. I want the Packers to win, and it will be massive for Green Bay if we do win for the divisional race and the future playoff challenges ahead. But it's going to be a good watch. I know you're going to probably enjoy watching it more than me.
Yeah, can I just say as well, the record on this podcast, from you, I think I've done okay with Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
From you, pre-season, anti-post looks, crushed it. You nailed that part. In the actual season, when we're days away from the game, Green Bay made you look a bit silly.
I'm 1-4. I've put up five Green Bay picks. 4 of them have lost. So I have not done well in Green Bay games. Now, I think most of those times I've been specifically trying to find a bet in the Green Bay game. This time I'm forced to do it. So hopefully we'll see some different turn of fortune. But I'm really looking forward to it. And hopefully this is a game where we can have plenty of winning bets.
Yeah, I couldn't let this week go by without wearing a Seahawks hat as well. I have to represent on my side. But, it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful football game. We hope. Markets at the moment, I think the Packers started off as 5-point underdogs in this game. But they're now 3.5-point underdogs. So -3.5 for Detroit. The over-under is just the most delicious 51.5 points. I think that might be the highest line of the year, or at least joint highest line of the season so far. But there should be points in this. We're playing inside. We're playing in Detroit. No snow games, no cold, no nothing, just football. We should be absolutely fine. One thing to say. Last week was Thanksgiving, right?
Yes.
We put up players of the day.
Oh, I can't even remember what they were, but okay, go on.
They were in the same. Yours was Malik Neighbours, went over.
Love that.
Mine was Rico Dowdle, who went over and then some. So
he did. Is it time?
This is our first ever Thursday victory sip. Cheers.
It is. Cheers.
Mm-hmm. It just hits different than that normal.
This is apple juice, by the way. I just want to confirm apple juice for everyone watching.
Yeah, Tom is just drinking urine. That's what he does on a Thursday. Tinkle Thursdays.
Don't you start. Right. Let's carry on.
Let's carry on. Let's go into the football game because we are anticipating points and we've both got 2 selections instead of our kind of regular one. I'm focusing on the same player for mine. So I dislike one of yours. I like the other one. You know which one I dislike, so give me the one that I dislike.
The one you dislike is probably Christian Watson, isn't it?
No, that's the one I like.
You like Christian Watson?
Yeah, I like Christian Watson.
No way. I'd have had that huge odds. I thought the other selection would be the one you like. Right. You want me to start with the other?
Okay. On Thanksgiving, last week, I put the under for the running back of the Chicago Bears.
You did?
Detroit.
Okay, so you just like Detroit's defensive run D, basically. Okay, I get it. Right. I'll put up Josh Jacobs as my first bet then. This is the player that you don't like in this matchup. I really like. The line is set to 66.5 rushing yards over under. I'm going to take the over here for numerous reasons. Now, firstly, Josh Jacobs had a fantastic season. There is no doubt about that. I mean, even if you don't like playing running backs against Detroit's run D, you've got to respect that Josh Jacobs has been electric this campaign, averaging 4.5 yards per carry so far, 987 total yards over the season. So he's going to break the 1,000 mark, fingers crossed. He doesn't get injured or anything in this game on Thursday night. He's got 8 rushing touchdowns as well as 1 receiving touchdown. He's just been a shining light in this Green Bay Packers offense. There is nothing really negative you can say about Josh Jacobs himself. Now, the Detroit defense has been very solid, especially against the run, as you say. And last week you landed an under with DeAndre Swift in this kind of matchup. However, have you seen the Lions injury report this week? They are battered.
One of my points is, I swear every single Thanksgiving, every single play on Thanksgiving, I looked up, Oh, another Lions player's down. Oh, another one's down.
Yeah,
Their defense, it wasn't even their offense. Their offense is fine.
yeah.
I think there are 6 players on their injury report at the moment, all of them on defense.
Yes, and there were 5 others that did not practice on Tuesday. Obviously, we're
Mhm.
filming this Wednesday morning, so they could still yet play. But their injury report is packed full of defensive players. 3 defensive linemen are unlikely to play in this game for Detroit, which I think is the big turning point here for Josh Jacobs and the success that the Packers may have on the ground. I was watching that game on Thanksgiving. I know you were too. It felt like it went on for an age because literally every play in the third or fourth quarter, a guy was down hurt. It was
Mhm.
ridiculous. It was like everyone didn't want to play the rest of the game. Detroit got absolutely battered on defense, and they're just going to be fielding a lot of backups here. And that could be the difference. And that's why I like the Packers to score a lot of points. I'm not saying we'll win, but I think we'll score points, and I think we'll move the ball quite easily. Josh Jacobs has been the guy to move the ball throughout the whole season for us. The line is set relatively low at 66.5. It was 63.5 last night when I originally wrote all this, but 66.5 is absolutely fine. And, he's just very hard to tackle. I mean, he ran 13 times for 95 yards in the previous matchup against Detroit this year. So it's not like in that previous game, Detroit completely stopped him. And now I'm hoping that the backups are the reason why Jacobs is going to explode. He still did well in that previous matchup. I think this line's too low. I think he covers. In 8 out of 12 games so far this season, Josh Jacobs has run for more than 67 yards. I don't see that changing here. So give me Josh Jacobs over 66.5 rushing yards at 10 to 11 is my first play. My second play is Christian Watson, already given a spoiler there. I didn't think you'd like this one because we've talked about Watson a lot on this podcast. We've talked about how, he's kind of hit or miss in terms of literally fantasy wise, betting wise, but also in terms of catching. You just never really know if he's going to catch the ball or going to drop it. He has terrible hands for a wide receiver. That being said, he's exceptionally good at getting open.
Mhm.
Really good at getting open. And with the fact that this D line on the Detroit side is hurt, I think Jordan Love may have a lot of time in the pocket, and this kind of links into your selection. So hopefully that's a good little way to carry on this podcast. But if Jordan Love has loads of time, that means he's going to be able to pick his pass. And Christian Watson is a guy that Matt LaFleur does like going to against Detroit. In his previous 4 games against Detroit, he's had 7 targets, 4 targets, and 6 targets. Doesn't sound like much, but when you look through all of Christian Watson's games, they do tend to be quite low in terms of targets and quite high in terms of yards because he just catches deep balls. Because his line is only 45 receiving yards here, 45 and a half, he needs 46 plus to cover. That could be done in one catch. I mean, we've seen it many times this year. He just goes deep, 50 yards in the bag straight away, and it's an over cover. So I'm hoping that's going to be the case. I'll take Christian Watson over 45 and a half receiving yards at 10 to 11 as my second play. I prefer Jacobs over Watson, but hopefully they both win.
Yeah, I get it. Look, Christian Watson's targets, like you say, he might not get loads of them. He's never going to be the guy that gets like 12 targets in a game, but they're
Yeah.
valuable targets. If he does get a catch, you got 25 yards here, you got 25 yards there. He's always going to be a guy that's open downfield. If he catches it, then great. Sometimes he doesn't, but he will catch something. I think he'll go over in this. I quite like that side of things. Josh Jacobs, the problem for me with Josh Jacobs is I like the Detroit run defense. As you say, 6 guys on the injury report at the moment. Taylor Decker's one of them, who's a tackle. There's 3 D linemen as well, including DJ Reader. The 2 guys that managed to get in full practices on Tuesday were Carlton Davis and Emmanuel Mosley, who are both cornerbacks. So not really something that affects the run a huge amount, but their D line is very banged up at the moment. So I do get that. The last player to have a good game from the running back position against Detroit, by the way, was Josh Jacobs. That's my problem. They've since Josh Jacobs went for, was it 90 plus yards?
Yes, 94, I think it was.
Yeah, against Detroit, they've not allowed a 50-yard rusher from the running back position. Anthony Richardson did, but we're not going to count Anthony Richardson. He's a quarterback. That's my one slight concern on that part. But my selections do factor into your Christian Watson part, and I hope Christian Watson goes over because my first selection is Jordan Love over 247. It's gone down 1.5 yards passing yards at 10 to 11. And Jordan Love over 1.5 passing touchdowns. I love that one. I think it's 20 to 27. Look, it's a short price, but I love that. I'd be stunned if he doesn't go over 1.5. But as we've been talking, the Detroit defense is banged up. You watched the Thanksgiving game. Yes, players kept on going down hurt. But Caleb Williams, he started off the game pretty gross, honestly. Things weren't working for Chicago. No coincidence that the longer the game went on and the more injured Detroit got, the more yards Caleb Williams managed to get. He started racking them up late on. He had a massive week in the end. He passed for 258 passing yards and 3 touchdowns as well. Most of that came after a few injuries, but I do think that Jordan Love's going to have a big week here. Like I say, the run game has struggled against Detroit. It might be a touch better this week with Josh Jacobs. Generally, you have to throw on Detroit. And Jordan Love, he's had a good season so far. He's played 10 games at the moment. He's thrown for 2 or more touchdowns in 7 of those 10 games. I think is going to continue in this part. And also, you go back to week 9. Jordan Love, yes, Green Bay only scored 14 points. Jordan Love passed for 273 yards. This is something he's done before. I think he's going to have to throw once again. I think Detroit score over 25 points in this game, more than likely. That's what the lines are saying. The line says they're going to score a fair few more than that. Jordan Love is going to get his in this part. I think over 247.5 passing yards is a very fair line, and I think over 1.5 passing touchdowns is very fair as well. But a lot of this does hinge upon Detroit being rather banged up on defense. I'm stunned that on Thursday Night Football, both of us have shunned the best offense in football.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I think because of the Detroit injuries, you kind of got to factor that in, and that's why we're looking at the Packers. I actually like all 4 of our selections. I have to admit, I like both of yours. I think Jordan does cover on both, especially passing touchdowns. That seems highly likely. I'll be surprised if we didn't put up 21 to 28 points, to be honest. And Detroit will probably win the game, but at the same time, I wouldn't rule us out. I wouldn't say this is as one-sided as many people would expect with a Detroit Lions at home kind of matchup. But there are 4 selections, and they're all sponsored by SBK. They're brought to the viewers by SBK.
They are. I was going to put it in just before the picks, I promise.
Well, I mean, you need to apologise to the SBK guys.
No, they haven't given us our mints yet. I'm
Every time you say that, I think of beef mince, and I don't want to receive that from them.
I'll take it, honestly.
Well, yeah.
It's free and it's refrigerated while in transit. I'm fine with that. But our picks this week are brought to you by SBK. If you haven't downloaded the app but already, for new customers, go over there. You place £10, you get £40 in free bets. What are you waiting for on that? T's and C's apply. 18 plus only. Please gamble responsibly. And of course, at the weekend, we'll tell you again in our Sunday video, but SBK are offering a 25% ACCA boost to use on this weekend's NFL matches, regardless of my selections, Tom's selections. If you want to mix and match them, if you want to do your own ones, we heavily endorse that. Then you get a 25% ACCA boost on that part. Happy now?
Yeah, I'm very happy now. I like to use SBK for my plays on especially on Sunday when we've got lots of games. So you guys should do so too. There's a link down below, right down there, below our plays today. You should click that, sign up, and get those offers because they're fantastic. Hopefully, this week we'll be going 4 from 4 and punishing those SBK traders.
Yeah, we pretend we like them. We hate them. But I want to take all their money. Tom, tell us your selections to punish SBK with.
Josh Jacobs, over 66.5 rushing yards. That's a 10 to 11. And Christian Watson, over 45.5 receiving yards. Also a 10 to 11 for me.
I'm going to go for Jordan Love for over 247.5 passing yards. I almost said 400 then.
I wouldn't take the over there.
Yeah, he's not Jameis Winston. He's not
or Russell Wilson, based on last week.
Or Russell Wilson. Apologise to him.
Yeah, that'll come in the Sunday pod, don't you worry.
And Jordan Love over 1.5 passing touchdowns at 20 to 27. I love the passing touchdowns one. I don't see a world where Jordan Love doesn't go over in that part. He did that to Jayden Reed last time around in was it Thanksgiving that you put up Jayden Reed, and he had a massive game and just decided not to cover on the receiving yards.
Yep, that was it. Thanks for reminding me.
This is bringing up. You were going on all week. This is a Jayden Reed game. I'm really confident. You were right. How were you still wrong? Like,
It's the Packers curse with me. Hopefully, it doesn't carry on this week.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully, the Packers sort things out and help us out on our betting side. But that is the Turf and Touchdowns podcast. Please subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment down below. We are so close to 400 subscribers. It would be fantastic if we could get there this week, and we want to get to 500 as well before the playoffs start, which is not actually that far away. We're doing some special stuff on Turf and Touchdowns for the playoffs, including previews of each and every game and our best bets as always. But that's us done on the Thursday edition of the Turf and Touchdowns podcast. We're off to record our horse racing video now. Go watch that until we next get to speak to you guys. Stay safe, look after one another. Bye.